Welcome back to another episode of Innovation Minutes Live.
Yes, this week we are talking about gender and gender equality again, but from a little bit different perspective. I think we don't often consider the role of men in both society and in the workplace if they want to quote unquote have it all. We talk a lot about women, but what about men? Is that on offer to them? And some would say, yeah, men get to have it all because they get all the best parts of parenting and marriage, and they can sort of be they can kind of moonlight and in those roles and then go to the office. But I think it's a bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, especially now as I think the expectations have changed a little bit. There's as we push more towards open equality and having this conversation in honest terms about equality. Men are with good reason being asked to step up and do more, right? So if you look at the way expectations have changed over the last 20, 30 years, right? So men are now expected to be present. They don't just come home and have dinner waiting and have their glass of scotch and the kids magically go to bed. That they're an active part of it, right? And I think in a lot of families, and you can go back and forth, and there's different cases for different families. But I think the bigger part is, like you said, now they don't just get to have it all, they have to have it all. Right?
Well, you have to have it all. And, it's interesting because studies show that when it's a more equitable marriage in terms of both parties working both outside of the home and within the home, that it's not only a better marriage, but that the men are actually healthier. I think that's a really interesting stat, that the men they have lower stress, they're happier, and they're healthier people when they actually do share more of the work at home and have that balance. Now, I think the caveat there is that, just like when women are trying to have a high-powered job and manage everything at home, that becomes really stressful. But when everything really does become more shared, and I think the key is when the expectations for the man being this sole majority breadwinner go down, with the expectation that they will share in the household duties, then we have a formula that works. But if they're expected to be the sole breadwinner or to dominate in that respect and still be climbing while still doing 50% of everything else, that's not realistic for anyone.
Yeah. And I think, while the societal views and norms have kind of shifted on this issue, the reality in the enterprise has very much stayed the same. And I think that's what's kind of creating the conflict, right? Is, as men are expected to do more around the house and help out and be that 50% partner, nothing's changed at the office. They're still expected to put in the hours and climb the ladder and do all the right things. And, this idea of a high-powered executive having flex time to go, coach a kid's ball game or, take care of a new baby, that is still kind of lagging behind. And I think that's where the changes really need to happen.
Yeah, take paid family leave and paternity leave. We're still getting to that place, to this understanding that, once the child is born, yes, if a woman is nursing, there's certain demands on the woman being physically present, but there's also something really wonderful and important about the man sharing in those early duties, and being given the space and the opportunity to do that by being supported by their employer. And I think we're still sort of scratching the surface of that. And we're also still lagging behind, I think, as a society, where we pay lip service to wanting equality, but then at the end of the day, there are a lot of relationships where, the default is, but you're the man, and so you should ultimately be providing. Or, if there's some hardship, it's like, well, the man's not doing his job.
Right. And I think if you've ever known any stay-at-home dads, you kind of look at them, even being, having kind of an evolved viewpoint on this, you tend to look at them in a different way. And it's not fair, but it's just the way that we've kind of been conditioned to look at men who, leave the professional world and arguably do the much harder job of taking care of the kids, right? I'm sure you have guy friends and you've heard them lament about, oh, I had to take care of the kids today. I just want to go back to work.
Yeah,
right? And
totally. I have friends, I have male friends who are unfortunately going through difficult divorces, and when they have the kids on their own, they have to bring in grandparents to help because they don't know what to do. They have not been a part of that, and it's just too overwhelming. But then in the same breath, there's this argument of, well, my wife should work and take care of the kids all the time and help. Yeah. So, but I think you're right about that, that lingering stigma around men who do choose to not take the traditional, conventional route and decide that they want to be more of the primary caretaker. That whether we articulate it or not, there's a lot of quiet grumbling around whether that man is lazy or not doing his part, not living up to his expectations. And so I think until we as a society start to reconcile that and shift our opinions on it, it's probably not going to become institutionalized in the workplace.
Yep, I think that's right. So let us know what you guys think. We'd love to hear your comments in the comments section, and we'd also love some additional perspective on what is your company doing differently. So if you have a point of view or if you have ideas to share, we'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you next week.